Hear ye, all citizens of Deliciaburgia. It is I, the Duke of Dunsberger. It hath come to my royal attention that not enough of the peasants in the kingdom have tried the newest signature offering from the Dunsbergian throne. I beseech ye, verily, of the cheesy pleaser crot dog, a mouth-watering halal all-beef frankfurter wrapped in a flaky, buttery, kosher croissant covered in cheesy pleasers. It's just the right combination of sodium and lard to unlock the gates to the kingdom of cravings fulfilled. And you can royally upgrade your meal to include a bottomless soda chalice and the Munchie Crusher, a battle axe-shaped hand pie with your choice of molten hot fruit filling. And remember, if you pay with Duncecoin, you can order off the secret menu and have your cheesy pleaser crot dog savage style. It's my favorite. Take it from the Duke. You'll be royally satisfied.
You are listening to the audio edition of Unstoppable Farce, the Mitch Maloney story, by Mitch Maloney, read by the author.
Chapter 20. Jacked. Two weeks. Just 2 weeks until I'm supposed to be bulked up and shredded enough to play the Dark Knight Crusader in David Lynch's Batmobile Man, Lega pre-sequel Palooza. And what am I working with here? I've got the muscle mass of a mollusk and the core strength of an inflatable car dealership tube dancer. Or maybe it's the other way around, but you get the idea. If I'm being honest, I never put much effort or concern into working out, but my little sister is a different story. And thanks to her, I've got this private gym to myself for 2 weeks to try to pull off the impossible. Well, not entirely by myself. I've got Andy Richter, my newly acquired sidekick / personal fitness coach, at my side. We're staring at a giant mirror in a room covered in mirrors. The walls, the ceiling. Everywhere I look, I'm staring at myself, but from a slightly different angle. It reminds me of the small mirrored alcove in my childhood home that you may recall I mentioned way back in Chapter 1. The place that always got me thinking about the other me's that might be. The way I still do whenever I catch my own reflection, like it's some kind of recurring motif or something. I wonder if that alcove is what my sister had in mind when she had this place built. I wonder if all of her severe fitness outposts have a private mirrored bodybuilding gym in the basement like this one. Now, anyone who's listened to my critically acclaimed quintuple platinum death metal stand-up record, Torture Gauntlet, might recall there was something of a rift between my sister and me at one time, following the death of our father, when she completely lost her mind for a while. But that's all water under the bridge now. Ever since I borrowed a line from Louie Anderson. I told her, at some point, you have to park your past and put yellow caution tape around it so you don't keep going back to it.
Endnote 1.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Right here. The solution to all of life's great problems can be found in the pages of books by famous comedians. And our family feud was just one more example, because as soon as the quote was out of my mouth, my sister was all apologies. And I suppose the $6 million check I was handing over at the time to get the ball rolling on this little business venture of hers didn't hurt either. Andy gently nudges me out of my inner monologue with the electrified cattle prod he's using as a training device. "Well, Mitch," he says, "we've obviously got a long way to go, but before we get started, I have to ask you 3 questions." "Okay," I say. "I know where this is going. First question is, where am I from, right? Funny you should ask, 'cause I was just doing a callback about that from the beginning of this memoir. I grew up in a house on a planned community built around a golf course, and it had this little mirrored alcove. I don't give one loose crap about your childhood memories or your recurring motifs," snarls Andy as he gives me another zap. "At least one of us is having fun." He might be a sadistic son of a cabinet designer and Russian language professor, but I can't tell you how much it means to have Andy Richter on my team for this personal transformation journey. Everybody knows that Andy's got that magic touch. Any project he takes on, whether it's Andy Richter Controls the Universe or quintuplets, you know it's gonna go the distance. Everybody's got a favorite episode of Andy Barker P.I., and who can forget his legendary multi-week run on The Tonight Show? His CV is just one long list of universally beloved long-running smash hits, and now he's here, offering not just the magical Richter touch, but his wise counsel as an FC elder as well. "What I need to know," he shouts at full volume, "is do you have the nards it takes to turn that dripping sack of cheesy grits you call a physique into something even remotely reminiscent of some comic book cape detective?" Sure, I guess I'm willing. I mean, I'm here and I've got the leotards and leg warmers on and everything, so might as well give it a go, right? "Don't fuck with me," screams Andy, repeatedly zapping me with his prod. "It's gonna take dedication. It's gonna take discipline. Hey Andy, sorry to cut you off, but I've got an idea. I was talking with my friend Kumail the other day, and he told me that when someone needs to get super yoked in a hurry, juicing can really do the trick." "Sure, Mitch," says Andy, finally dropping the training prod for a minute. "I think there's a Jamba not far from here. I could pick you up a papaya sunrise if you like, or are you more of a groovy guava guy?" "Come on, Andy. Let's cut the kitty litter. How about you save us both a lot of time and trouble by scoring me some roids?" "Roids?" says Andy, like he's shocked or something. "That's right, roids. Anabolic steroids. Shouldn't be too hard in Lipstick City. In fact, I bet we could just ask one of the super buff dudes that work here."
Mitch, so sorry to cut in here, okay? But just a small clarification.
"For the love of Gern Blanston, Darberius, why must we go through this stupid routine in every chapter of this book? What do you think this is, a running bit or something?"
Well, as to the variety of steroids, it sounded like you said anal bollocks steroids.
Anal bollocks, that's what it's called, Darberius.
Well, Mitch, if you're referring to medications that synthesize testosterone for the purpose of accelerating the growth of muscle mass, I am quite sure you're referring to anabolic androgenic steroids, more commonly referred to as anabolic steroids.
You must be talking about something else. The roids I'm talking about, you shoot 'em up in your anal and your bollocks.
Right. You shoot them into your anal.
And your bollocks, Darberius, which is the Australian word for nard pouch. I don't suppose that's something you would know anything about. Darberius, we're just having a little fun here, right? Anyway, Andy nixes my suggestion, says roids are out of the question, says it's gotta be the old-fashioned way if I want him on my team. Easy for him to say. He doesn't have to do the reps. And besides, he's having too much fun with the cattle prod to care. So I nod in agreement and ask him what his third question is. Oh, is it time for... I was just about to... Okay. Hey folks, I'd like to take a pause from my inspiring and hilarious memoir to talk about opportunity. Introducing the Duncecoin Deluxe non-fungible meme token. And don't worry, it's not a scam. You might have heard crypto is a scam or NFTs are a grift or something similar from some annoying person that doesn't know how to mind their own business. But with Duncecoin Deluxe non-fungible meme tokens, there's no chance of you getting caught up in some pump and dump pyramid scheme because Duncecoin non-fungible meme tokens are in no way connected to economic fluctuations because they've got nothing to do with any of that confusing blockchain business. Imagine a coin, but it's not a coin, and it's digital. And listen, do real scams spend money on audiobook ads read by me, Mitch Maloney? Of course not. That would be fiscally irresponsible. And if there's one thing the people behind Duncecoin Deluxe non-fungible meme tokens are, it's, well, the important thing is just go to duncecoin.notascam today and please buy in so I can eventually cash in this medallion of a surfing cat they gave me. Sorry about that. Wait, what were we talking about? Asks Andy. Sorry, I was just thinking about investment opportunities. I believe you were about to ask me your third and final question before we get to the iron pumping. Oh, that's right. Well, says Andy, his eyes darting back and forth like he's worried about someone hearing. I was at this house party in Reseda at one of Zach Galifianakis' famous beige parties, and after the big freak-on portion of the evening, I got talking to Sean Penn, and he told me... He lowers his chin in classic Richter hangdog style and leans in. Well, he told me a salacious rumor, says Andy. I think I might know where this is going. So, you know that movie you made with Woody Allen? He's referring, of course, to Misty Midtown Memories, Woody Allen's cinematic swan song. For some reason, it's having trouble finding a North American distributor, even though it won Woody the Pomp d'Or at Cannes. And Cashiers de Cinemart said that my performance was the most bumblingly neurotic in the Allen canon since James Thomas Fallon in Anything Else. Sure, Andy, I remember the picture. What about it? Well, Sean said that Gaga told him that Leo told her that there was some kind of a threesome scene that got cut from the movie involving you, ScarJo, and M-Sto. Is that true? I think the lesson here is don't believe everything Sean Penn tells you, Andy. But you've lived in Lipstick City long enough. I'd figure you would have learned that lesson a long time ago. Look, I tell him, there was no such scene cut from the movie. Leo was talking about something that went down at the rap party. And what happens at the rap party stays at the rap party. You know that much, I hope. I've learned a lot about the art of conversation since I got into show business. You gotta know precisely where to draw the line between public and private. Confirming that there was some kind of triple header at the rap party is just enough information for Andy to mull over. But explaining it was actually a three-man game of crazy eights between myself and ScarJo, the transport captain, and Emilio Stowalski, the assistant craft services guy, would be just a little more dirt than I was willing to divulge. Not to mention that my ever-loving lady friend might be listening to this, and she couldn't be less interested in my extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean. Like playing cards with the crew. All right, Coach Richter, now that I've answered your questions 3, what did you have in mind as far as the modus du muscleification? Here's the plan, says Andy, pulling out a 3-ring binder overflowing with charts and graphs and whatnot. This is what's gonna happen, he says. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna wake you up at 4 a.m. and start you off with 2,000 jumping jacks while wearing a weighted helmet. followed by 900 push-ups and an hour and a half on the human-sized hamster wheel. Then it's time for your mid-morning shake, made with half a dozen raw eggs, a scoop of whey, and 2 tablespoons each of peanut butter, beetroot, taurine, and powdered walrus penis. For your midday workout, you'll do 19 sets each of 44 bench presses, squats, deadlifts, and overhead presses, between which you'll sprint up an inclined treadmill while holding a medicine ball over your head. Your mid-afternoon snack consists of a small fillet of roasted tilapia with cucumber slices on the side and a lick from the salt block for electrolytes. Then it's time to get ready for bed, right after a light 45 minutes of wall sits, followed by 3 hours of circuit reps, including tricep dips, closed grip bench presses, and reverse one-arm preacher curls, and also 500 calf raises. On Tuesday, we'll have to start a little earlier, 3:15, so we can get straight into 57 sets of shriek squats, followed by 90 minutes of bear crawls to as opposed to these egghead comedians with their notebooks and their rules of 3 and theories about incongruity and benign violation or whatever, like... I'm sorry. Is there going to be an exam after your set? Should I have brought a number 2 pencil for the Scantron? I'm sick of these eggheads, these snobs, and I'm sick of getting lectured by these ivory tower comedians about not punching down. These commies are always going on about how comedians are supposed to punch up. Punch up to who exactly? We're the ones on the run, and our leaders are in exile at the bottom of the ocean, folks. And so is our statue, by the way, the symbol of our movement. Everything is punching up if you're living at the bottom of the Marianas Trench, right? So don't call me a comedian. I'll stick with comic, thank you. That's good enough for me. Or better yet, call me a vulgarian. That's what you think of us anyway, right? Well then, we're vulgarians. Good. I'd rather be that than some kind of goddamn cultural Marxist. I've always been more of a Three Stooges guy myself anyway. Look, if you're listening to this right now, if you're hearing me, like if you're really hearing me, you're not broken. You're tuned in, okay? Which I guess makes you complicit, doesn't it? But maybe it's your first time on this frequency, so for any of the uninitiated just tuning in for the first time, welcome to Thought Crimes After Dark. My name is Wade Dinklington, and I'll be your host for tonight's journey into the forbidden and the taboo, an exploration of ideas that dare not be spoken of in so-called polite society. And consider yourself warned. This show's not about laughter. It's about comedy, all right? So listen at your own peril, knowing that you'll never get this hour back. Get it? And here's the short and curly version of the sermon, just in case the frequencies get interrupted prematurely. Hey, it happens to the best of us, right? There's something called the chuckle sphere, okay? It's like a sphere of mimetic psychic energy that's responsible for shaping our literal reality. But our thoughts, our content, it all feeds into it. It's non-local. It's multivalent. It's beyond science. You can't measure it. You can't test for it. The scientists don't understand. Anyone that tells you they know what's going on is also a douchebag that's full of shit. So stop obsessively trying to get to a point where you feel like you know what's going on, because it doesn't exist. It's a fallacy. It's not real. There is no level of understanding that we are capable of achieving where you're gonna feel like you're on top of things. That's not real. That's not a thing. Stop chasing it. It does not exist. Embrace disorder. Embrace it. That's the only way to be. It's all you can do. It's truly the only option available to you. Sometimes I think how I would sound to myself like 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 years ago. A crazy person, obviously. And you know what? I wish that was true. To most people, I probably do sound crazy because they haven't heard about half the stuff I'm talking about. I'd be like, I've never heard any of this. I think, maybe you're spending too much time on the internet. I would think that too. In fact, I used to think that. Before I had my own personal bro-joking experience, before I envisioned the great separation that I called diagonal linoleum, before I developed the ability to see the chuckle sphere, I tried to stay asleep. I did. I pulled the covers right up over my head, but I just couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I was cursed to see the truth. It wasn't an unhinged emotional reaction. It wasn't flailing and screaming. It was just a realization. I realized I'd been treading water in the backwash of inherited psychic feedback loops. A big, beautiful golden dome made of late-stage post-industrial comedy cliches and memes. I gazed into the chuckle sphere. And honestly, I wish I hadn't, but there's no turning back now. There just isn't. All I can do now is laugh at the things they say aren't funny. Say the thing I'm not supposed to say. And never apologize. You never say sorry. You only double down. The only punchline left that can puncture the chuckle sphere is reality itself. And then you'll cool down with a brisk 8-mile run, dragging a tire filled with kettlebells, followed by a full-body ice bath in a dumpster filled with frozen sardines. Maybe Andy's right. Maybe using roids would cheapen this whole self-improvement process. Like Zarna Garg said, pain is my destiny, and my company, and my affinity. Embracing pain will put you on the fast track to success.
Endnote 2.
Andy continues. Your mid-afternoon light workout consists of 14 consecutive backflips, and then one-on-one combat against a clone droid of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat while wearing ankle weights, followed by some light stretching while hanging upside down from a pull-up bar in an isolation chamber, and then a light jog through a murder hornet sanctuary in Los Feliz while wearing a vest laden with fetid lunch meat. So who exactly invented the chuckle sphere? Who was behind the Pagliaccio Codex? Well, maybe ask yourself who benefits from it. The Brotherhood of the Brick Wall, that's who. Oh, you don't know about that? Yeah, of course you don't, because you weren't supposed to, because they don't want you to. Well, it isn't a guild or a union. It isn't some kind of social club where old road comics swap dirty limericks in the green room. It's a coven. It's a cabal of comedy elites, including not just legacy headliners, but producers, bookers, network execs, and most of them are also on the list. You know the list I'm talking about, don't you? The list of clients from Horseshack Island. I'm talking about a cabal of globalist elite famous comedians that meet every fall on a secluded compound in the Berkshires to divvy up their spheres of influence and plot out their strategies to create a monocomedic society, all sworn to protect their stranglehold on what you're allowed to laugh at. And it didn't start with Jerry Seinfeld or Eddie Murphy, okay? This goes back centuries. We're talking Peter the Great's all joking, all drunken synod of fools and jesters. You ever hear about that? It was a booze-soaked, joke-swapping lodge overseen by the Russian Tsar that had its roots in the cult of Dionysus. That's when they started using masks, by the way. A tradition that continued through the Commedia dell'arte when traveling improv troupes, proto-groundlings, proto-second citizens were hoofing it all over Europe, dictating to the peasant class what they were supposed to find funny, just like Colbert or Chappelle today, signal bouncing the messages of their corporate and political masters, hundreds of years before they put on the paper bags. So basically, since the beginning of civilization, they've been masking themselves, hiding in plain sight, deceiving and concealing. But what are they hiding? And why? For example, did you ever ask yourself what was on the other side of that brick wall that every stand-up is standing in front of? What are they guarding? What are they hiding? The serpent, that's what. Because before they were the brotherhood of the brick wall, they were the brotherhood of the snake. And you don't have to take my word for it, okay? Look it up. Their bloodlines trace back to ancient Mesopotamia, to the god Anu and his son Enki, the founders of the brotherhood, which, according to their own so-called sacred scrolls, are descended from a race of extraterrestrial reptilian humanoids. We're talking about the beings that designed the pyramids, okay? And I know it sounds crazy when you say it out loud, but it's true, and it needs to be said. The primary concern of the Brotherhood is the production and harvesting of a neurochemical called gestochrome that's generated deep within the hypothalamus at the moment when absurdity is fully processed by the prefrontal cortex, which under normal circumstances is expressed in involuntary laughter. It's the single most potent psychoneurolinguistic compound on Earth, and it's being extracted from you every time you chuckle at a late-night chat show monologue or a product endorsement that vaguely resembles a joke. They worship the stuff because they believe that gestochrome is the divine essence of their trickster god. And they use it to emotionally lubricate compliance, to break down critical resistance, and create addictive feedback loops that keep the population docile while thinking they're in on the joke. Here's something you should ask yourself. Who the hell is Mitch Maloney? No, seriously, who's this guy? Where'd he come from? Suddenly, he's everywhere. He's on the guest couch of every chat show. His clip-clop videos are everywhere. They're putting him in freaking superhero movies now. Everywhere I look, it's quote-unquote Mr. Mirth shouting, "Everybody's a fucking nutcase!" Or he's doing a routine about cheesy pleasers. His little poetic odes to these things, like, what the hell even is a cheesy pleaser? I've never seen that at the 11E7. And everybody just nods along, like this is normal. But here's the thing, and I need you to really think about this. Do you have any memory of this guy before, 6 months ago? Of course you don't. Because nobody does. Not me, not you, not anyone on my burner Discord. But nevertheless, there are videos, clips, reels that look like they're from years ago. It's like he's always been there, like he's part of the comedic canon. He just appeared, fully formed. So the way I see it, there's two possibilities. Either this is a manifestation of some demon, or he's an AI construct. A rogue synthetic comic engineered by the Brotherhood of the Brick Wall is like a pastiche of every hack character comic from the late 20th century. But everything is just a little bit off. That's because it's been uploaded directly into the timeline through deepfake retroscripting. That's why we remember nothing, because the past has been rewritten. It's not a Mandela effect, it's the Maloney insertion. And I will bet every bruscoin in my digital billfold that he's siphoning gestoplasm at a rate we've never seen before, and funneled to who else? The Brotherhood of the Brick Wall. Funding Project Heckle, the CIA psyop designed to weaponize irony following Hard to believe that just 2 weeks ago I looked like a sack of expired pudding, and here I am today, a sculpted, glistening god. I've got more definition than a Merriam-Webster warehouse. I'm more jacked than a self-driving dunce truck on Muffler Row. I'm more henched than the henchback of Notre Hench. That's all the synonyms I can think of for getting yoked. Oh, wait. I'm more yoked than an Eggs Benedict convention. Nice one, Mitch. I've even got abs now. Perfectly defined, abominable muscles. And not just a six-pack either. More like a baker's dozen of abs. Each one a freshly polished dinner roll. Taut, glistening, and covered in butter.
Abdominal.
Twice in one chapter? Are you kidding me? I'm trying to tell a simple story here, Darberius. I'm just trying to put together a simple Rockney 4-style training montage about one man's incredible physical transformation, and every time there's an interruption of some kind, whether it's one of those f***ing ad reads I have to do, or you butting in here, it interrupts the flow of the story. Do you understand that?
Abdominal muscles, not abominable muscles.
How do you know? You've never seen my...
It's abdominal, as in the muscles of the abdomen.
Maybe you should look it up in your Duncepedia or whatever.
And a baker's dozen is actually... You know what?
Actually what?
Never mind. It's fine. You've got a baker's dozen of abominable muscles. Okay? What difference could it possibly make? Have it your way. Huh?
Okay, I'm glad you're coming around and everything. So, I'm admiring my abdominal muscles. I mean, abominable muscles. And as I was about to say, there's no doubt I've got some big bat boots to fill. And while maybe I'll never have the chiseled jaw of a George Clooney, or the brooding brow of Robert Pattinson, or the grisly grimace of Pedro Pascal, or the acting chops of Sir Daniel Day-Lewis, I'll definitely be the most ripped and swole Bryce Wade in superhero cinema history. Well, at least since Neil Patrick Harris. Thank goodness Andy finally gave up on the drill sergeant routine and scored me some roids, 'cause that exercise plan of his sounded like a real pain in the you-know-what, by which I mean my entire body. Andy said it was a bootleg gorilla growth hormone spiked with experimental gene-editing nanobots that he was injecting me with. All I know is whatever was in those syringes sure did the trick, and the 2 pallets of anvil radish I went through probably didn't hurt either. Not only am I more swole than an anaphylactic who just got Cosby'd by Mr. Peanut, somehow I've also grown 6 inches taller. And my hair has grown back in, lusher and silkier than ever before, and in a perfect preformed platinum blonde fashion mullet. Finally, I can stop wearing that ridiculous Dennis Miller wig I've been dragging around for half this book and chasing for the other half. I can't believe I made such a big stink about it for so many chapters, even to the point of causing hundreds of tragic deaths in my effort to recapture it. But what can I say? I've got an image to maintain, and now I've taken that image to the next level. Andy hands me the phone. It's my agent, Gabby. Oh, hi there, Mitch, she starts off, a little sheepish. Now, Gabby doesn't do sheepish, so Immediately, I wonder if something is up. She says, "You didn't really follow through with that whole crazy idea of muscling up for that superhero flick, did you?" "Not only did I follow through with it, you would barely recognize me. My pecs are more chiseled than Michelangelo's marbles. My biceps are bulgier than Buscemi's eyeballs. My delts are more ripped than all of the knees of all of the jeans of all of the 90s grime rock bands combined. I've got the Charles Atlas seal of approval and then some." "Well, that's unfortunate," says Gabby, "because it seems there was a little misunderstanding. It turns out it wasn't the Batmobile man that they had you in mind for. They actually wanted you for the bad guy, the jokester, and, I guess they weren't picturing a villain 2 to 4 times the size of the hero who's currently slated to be played by Jenna Ortega, so, well, I say, trying to absorb the enormity of this miscalculation. That's no big deal. I don't want to be in another dumb comic book movie anyway. Didn't Todd Phillips' Joker 3 Menage a Trois just leave the theaters? Not that it did much in the way of box office or critical reception. I guess people weren't ready for another big genre shift, this time from gritty prison musical to hardcore tentacle pornography. I wonder what poor sap they'll tap to play the jokester this time, though. They'll need someone who can convincingly pull off psychopathic treachery, preferably with a maniacal sneer and a weirdly pointy chin and wavy hair. They've already reached out to Anthony Jeselnik, says Gabby. Oh yeah, Jeselnik. I'm surprised they didn't call him first now that you mention it. I suppose I should be honored that the great David Lynch thought of old Mitch Maloney for the Crime Prince of Clowns, but on the other hand, it kind of bugs me. Is that what people think of when they think of me? Some kind of homicidal maniac? Some kind of agent of chaos? Have some people lost their lives because of my actions? Sure. But that was just a series of tragic accidents that, according to my legal representation, I was only inadvertently responsible for, and has also been erased from the public record thanks to my synergistic marketing relationship with Dunce Pharmaceuticals. But I never wanted to hurt anybody. Oh, I want to kill them, all right. On stage. Not with some deadly gas. With punchlines. I want to murder them, it's true. With laughs. I love my audience. That's why I just want to physically strangle the life out of every last one of them until they are medically deceased. With enthusiastic guffaws. Gabby says, "Mitch, I can't help but feel just a tiny bit responsible for this mix-up. So if there's anything I can do..." I think this is the closest I've ever heard Gabby come to apologizing for one of her many career-jeopardizing missteps, which I appreciate. I suppose some FCs would can their agents for this sort of screw-up, but I've learned how to see opportunity in every instance of blatant incompetence. So what are we gonna do with this massive hole in my schedule? I'm buffer than Tom Cruise's Ducati when the Sea Org gets done with it. I'm 6'4", which is the tallest you can get before it starts to be weird and giraffe-like. My hair looks like Bosworth circa 87 when he was at his follicular peak. I feel unstoppable, and suddenly it hits me like a ton of clay blocks, the kind you might use as building materials or something. Just imagine a bag full of hard clay blocks hanging right over your head, and suddenly it rips open and clobbers you all over your noggin. That's just what it's like. You remember back in Chapter 4, Gabby, when I asked if you've ever read Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime? I never got around to it, Mitch, but I'm sure anyone listening to this memoir will appreciate the callback. Well, if you had read it, then you'd know that regret is the thing we should fear most. Failure is an answer. Rejection is an answer. Regret is an eternal question that you will never have the answer to.
Endnote 3.
You want to do something for me, Gabby? Okay, then call whoever's in charge of the Hollywood Bowl and tell him to clear the schedule to make room for Mitch Maloney. And then you call Madison Square Garden and tell them the same. Ditto the Sydney Opera House and the Royal Albert Hall and the Eiffel Tower and the Leaning Tower of Pizza and the CN Tower and the Eye of Sophia and whoever's in charge of live performances on top of the Sphinx. I'll headline all the wonders of the world, be they natural or unnatural, modern or oldern. I want my name and face absolutely plastered all over the world's greatest monuments and most sacred holy places. And for the grand finale, we cap it all off at the Acropolis in merry old Greece, just like the most respected New Age keyboardist of all time, Giannis Chrysomolous. We'll call it Unstoppable Force, the Mitch Maloney World Tour. It'll be the biggest, the boldest, the brashest, and above all the most expensive tour in the history of stand-up comedy. But Mitch, she says, don't you think it'll be confusing to people that the name of your tour is almost but not quite the same as the memoir you're currently writing and narrating? Never underestimate the audience, Gabby, especially not my fan base. If they've stuck with me this far in my career, there's nothing I could do to shake them off. The Maloney fanwiches are the real heroes of this story. I'm just the one that gets all the money and attention. Now let's talk sponsorship deals.
This audio edition of Unstoppable Farce, the Mitch Maloney story, was made possible by the Seventh Reformed Church of Latter-day Witnesses, the Bleepers.
Are you ready to unlock a whole new level of experience? Introducing Anvil Radish, the groundbreaking new substance that's taking the world by storm. Found deep within the legendary underground tunnels of Krakatoa, this one-of-a-kind wonder drug is a truly unique fusion of nature's best. An exhilarating blend of the strength and conductivity of iron ore, combined with the euphoric and mind-expanding properties of 4-methylene dioxyamphetamine. That's right. It's time to elevate your senses like never before. Imagine feeling empowered, connected, and alive. Explore the unique effects for yourself and unleash your inner potential. Visit anvilradish.com today and place your order for home delivery. Get ready to experience the extraordinary. Anvil Radish awaits. Possible side effects may include mild to severe euphoria, heightened sensory perception, metallic aftertaste, unpleasantly vivid dream recall, short-term increase in height up to 6 inches. Rare but serious side effects may include temporary X-ray vision, acute awareness of parallel dimensions, spontaneous duplicate versions of yourself, and mild gravitational distortion. Discontinue use if you experience time loops lasting longer than 48 hours. Anvil Radish, another fine product from Dunce Pharmaceuticals.